Motorcycle fans, you know we are on the quest to bring you the absolutely most impressive, most must-see bikes in the world. What do we have here today? We're in the shop of Larry Spiderman McBride. This is the world's quickest and fastest motorcycle engine, 550, 265. We've got a lot to talk about. Settle in. Welcome back, Cycle Drag Universe. We are right off of Jefferson Avenue in beautiful Newport News, Virginia, about an hour from Virginia Beach. This, of course, is the speed shop of the world's quickest and fastest motorcycle racer, the 20-time champion. Ignore the window, he needs to update it. Yes, the 20-time champion, Larry Spiderman McBride. If you don't know who Larry Spiderman McBride is, do you watch this channel? Yes, that Spider-Man, Larry McBride. He's coming off a record performance of 265 miles an hour, and we've wanted to do this interview for a long time. So sit back, relax. If you're in the shop, crank up the speakers. We're gonna take you inside Cycle Specialists. We're gonna ask Larry what it's like to go 265. We're gonna get a bunch of technical information on the motorcycle and give you a little bit of a tour of the shop. Guys, let's do this. So much to see in this shop, guys. I'm excited. I'm glad you joined us. They're always busy, and I do believe Larry is in there. Wait. I remembered something about the Spider-Man. You can't just open the door. He only comes out with a proper introduction. So let's give him the introduction he deserves. Ladies and gentlemen, from Newport News, Virginia, he is a 43-year veteran, a 20-time champion, a world record holder at 550, 265 miles an hour, beloved by men, women, and children worldwide. Ladies and gentlemen, the self-proclaimed most handsome man to throw a leg over a motorcycle, he is Larry Spiderman McBride. Oh, I knew that would work. Man, you look great. You look great. I knew that introduction would work. Thank you so much for having us. There's a lot of people that want to see inside your shop briefly and get a little bit insight about your motorcycle. So I thought, hey, let's take them inside. What do you think?
Well, you know, we're here. We might as well do it, right?
Well, Larry, before we get started, I'm sure everybody has seen you in action, especially the 7.5 million people who watched your video on Cycle Drag YouTube. But first, before we go any further, let's take you back to Valdosta, Georgia, where Larry Spiderman McBride did it again, broke another record, 265 miles an hour.
Let's round it off to 266.
266, close enough, guys. Enjoy this.
Here we go. Stop and smell the nitro and listen to the music. It's
Wow, Steve, 265! 265!
Ain't too shabby.
Does that
Do
make,
better than that, but that's good enough.
wow. Does that make 2020 feel a little better?
Good job, Steve. Good job, buddy.
That's a good way to put her away, huh?
That's the way you end the day.
So Larry, that's just truly amazing. Your brother was fired up. Everybody just stunned. If you've never seen Top Fuel Motorcycle live, guys, you got to come to a race because I'm telling you, you'll get tingles. Now, Larry, first question for you. I've asked you for a long time. What's it like to go that fast? You've given me great answers. You said skydiving. You said it's hard to explain. It's like a woman trying to explain what it feels like to have a baby. We got a lot of motorcycle fans on here. If there is any way, right, to just, how would that blast compare to maybe riding a Hayabusa or something that we can relate to? 265 and 1,320 feet.
Well, you know, I basically picked me a spot to run to, you know, on top end. And, you know, I don't like to look, you know, you don't like to have any peripheral vision. For simple reason, you don't want to get a tunnel vision. So in going that fast, it's really easy to get tunnel vision. That's what happens to a lot of guys. They're not focused on where they're running to, and you can't be looking out to the sides and seeing the signs go by you and things like that. You really got to focus on what you're doing so you don't end up with a tunnel vision issue, which it gives you a false sense of security because the track seems like it's getting narrower when it's really not. You're just going faster. If you just look forward, it stays the same size. So it's not really, you know, that's how I do it. You know, a lot of people have problems with that. You know, we fortunately I've not had that issue because I'm very, very focused, and you know, because this motorcycle will hurt you, and you better be you better be prepared to you know, shut the throttle off. But you better be you're 100% focused. If you got anything else on your mind other than riding that motorcycle, don't get on it because it's just not worth it.
You've told me for years that your goal would be to run low elapsed time and turn on wind lights at 230, 240. You just keep getting faster and faster. Do you really want to run this fast?
Well, you know, we're doing it safely right now. Do I really want to run this fast? No, not really. It comes along with the game. It's just part of it that it happens. For some reason, this motorcycle is we found some serious power, and the thing really runs a lot of top end speed. And now if we can just revert everything back a little bit and get it to, you know, so we can get it to 60 foot and 330 an eighth of a mile, you know, then you could actually lower the speed. Some probably run a little quicker ET, but you're going to run the speed if you stay in it. So if you shut it off a little early, then you can still, it'll hurt your speed, but won't hurt your mile an hour. And the problem we have now is, you know, some tracks that we run, unfortunately, are not really long enough because you have to let these things settle down a little bit before you get on the brakes. So the whole key to it is go down, you know, I ain't gonna say be relaxed on the bike, but you be a little bit loose so the bike can move around what it wants to do, and then you start getting on the brakes because the tire goes from, you know, 14 inches wide, you know, down to 11 inches wide, and then when you shut the throttle off, it goes back to 14 or, you know, 12, and it kind of bounces. Then you got bumps at top end, so you kind of want you kind of want the bike to settle down before you start hitting the brakes. And you know, today with the parachutes that we have are awesome. I mean, Sam Wheels has done an awesome job of developing that, and thank God I always was one of them guys that said I would never run one, but boy, I lied there again. So we really love it. And then we went, you know, 2 years ago, we, you know, Jason Pridemore turned me on to the carbon brakes, and we immediately went to them. And you know, I was talking with Bobby Malloy about it, and Bobby said, it's crazy, you have to let off the brakes. And one went, man, it's hard to believe, but I said, we got to try it. So we stepped up and, you know, spent the $1,000 for the rotor, and you know, got everything we need, you know, the brake pads, and, you know, that's another, I don't know, another $300-400 for brake pads, and, you know, $1,000 for this, and another $1,000 for that, but, you know, it's all worth it because it's a safety issue.
Sure.
So that was a major an accomplishment there to go to the carbon brakes.
Well, speaking of the carbon brake, why don't we give people a look and give people a tour of this amazing motorcycle? And for those of you wondering why this motorcycle isn't intact, it's rarely intact, all buttoned up at Cycle Specialists. It's always torn apart. These brothers are so hardworking. But moments ago, Larry referenced the carbon brake. So Larry, there they are. What are we looking at here?
Well, this is the carbon brake, and we get them from Strange Engineering, which does a great job on the brakes, and this is the key to stopping a motorcycle of this weight. Now, you're looking at a motorcycle that's 1,200 pounds, so you actually need 1,200 pounds with me on it, of course. You've got to have good brakes, and whatever it costs to be able to do that is what we have to do, and we recommend it to everybody now. And I do believe we've got everybody running them now. I know Mitch Brown is. I know Dave Van Tine is. I'm pretty sure Sam Wills. I'm almost 100% sure Sammy's got them on his too. And I believe Chris Hand put them on his. And I think all motorcycles, especially of this weight, and people say, well, it's the cost. It costs. Yeah, but the cost ain't. My rotors the steel rotors we used to run on here were $300 a piece. So some races you go through 2 or 3 of them. So the cost of this is really economical when you look at the long term of it, because this brake we've not had any problems with it. I mean, we're still running the same disc, the same pads, and we service the brakes every race, and I do all that myself. I service my own brakes. I change my own tires because I don't want anybody else to have that responsibility if we was to have a failure in anything. So, and I enjoy doing it. It's a little tedious, pain in the butt sometime doing it, but I really enjoy it. It's a lot of work, a lot of time, but at least I feel comfortable with it.
And I'm sure your crew appreciates it, because I certainly, if I was a crew member, I wouldn't want that on my hands either. That makes the driver feel great. It's like what we see out in the NHRA. A lot of drivers will still pack their own parachutes. Larry, you said something moments ago. You talked about this bike being 1,200 pounds, and you also brought up Mitch Brown's name, so it's a perfect segue. As you know, these turbo bikes are getting so unbelievably fast. Mitch posted something on Facebook about the first turbo bike to run the 5s will be the heaviest because it will be able to withstand it. Your bike is incredibly heavy, incredibly durable. With these turbo bikes getting so fast and having some problems, as we're seeing, you think they need to step it up on the durability side, beef these bikes up?
I'm not going to say and tell somebody else what they need to do to their motorcycle. Because that's going to be entirely up to them, because they probably know more about their bike than I do. But just looking at it from the outside, looking in with the amount of horsepower they're making, I forget what they're making, probably 800 horsepower, 800 horsepower.
Yes.
And then they can dial that up. I mean, because they can turn more boost, make stronger motor parts, turn more boost, make more power. But if it was me, we all, I'm probably one of the few guys in racing today that actually is part of my living, right? You got some Matt Smiths and different people out there that actually do it like I do and try to make a living at it, which is really tough. But we got to understand that this still is our hobby too. So my whole point behind it is, why would you want to do anything to jeopardize the safety of the likeness? Because you're talking about grams and stuff. I mean, you're not talking any weight. So if you want to lose a little bit of weight, I mean, go on a diet.
Yeah, we laugh about that.
I mean, that's what you need to do.
Sure.
Is basically go on a diet, and there's some, it's just like rims and things like that. I have Hawaii Racing make my rims, and they do an excellent job of it. And what I had them do is, he said, well, we can lighten this up like what I don't want it lightened up. Okay, I want it full strength. Okay, because we don't really need, it's not that critical for us. So I'm not worried about, a few pounds here or there. I'm more worried about the safety of it. That's why I run Olin's front ends. For the simple reason they're made stronger. They're a little thicker, a little more durable than I think a stock Hayabusa front end. And you know, this is a 1,200-pound motorcycle. So what I'm concerned about is that I ain't sure. I can't remember what a Hayabusa weighs, but let's say it weighs 500 pounds from the factory. Okay,
About 600.
Okay, say 600 pounds. We're double that. Now, how much pressure is on this thing? You know, when we're stopping, and you know, the same thing we went through with BST with the wheels. They built a wheel a lot stronger for us for the weight, and you know, Brock's Performance was involved in all of that. So we're really proud that all of them guys have helped us out, and you know, to build a safer bike. As you can tell, we actually warped another set of rotors down there, and that's something we've been wanting to do, is go to carbon rotors up here. But unfortunately, you can't get a carbon. So far, we've not been able to find a carbon rotor thin enough. And then some of the ones that you can find that the MotoGP bikes do run, they've had some issues with them breaking. So I'm not really wanting to. Once they get them all worked out, then I'm willing to put them on there. I just don't want to be the one that works them out.
Well, to let folks know, you're a perfectionist and your safety record has been amazing. Outside of Gainesville 92, I believe, on a motorcycle that never really handled that well, and 2015 when we saw you catch on fire and blow up in ADCO, and that was thanks to a little showmanship by you. Outside of that, you've really made this look easy, much easier than it is. You've had a very safe history. Is it attention to detail? Is it skill? Is it a combination of both?
Well, I think it's attention to detail and building a great motorcycle, building a strong motorcycle. And, you know, always remembering that the throttle works both ways. And as you saw, I had some issues down in, down in Valdosta with the thing going right. And of course, we had to shut down almost too late again. You know, I carried it a little bit further than probably I should have, but thank goodness everything worked out to the best of the ability. And then the run prior to that, you know, it went to the center line, but you're more apt to hold the bike on headed to the center line. The wall's very intimidating, so you're more apt to shut it off, because I don't want to hit no wall, and I don't want to cross the center line. But I felt confident that I could bring it back, and I pedaled it back and got it back straight, and everything went, the rest of the run went well. And we're still, actually looking for what actually happened for them runs. We're not 100% sure. So I don't really want to say what we think we found, but we are going to, we're definitely going to send some stuff back to the manufacturers, let them look at it, and let's make that decision. I don't want to, throw anything, because it's just one of these things that we're not 100% sure yet. So you don't want to say exactly what you think it is until you know exactly what it is, and then we can say what it is. But it's all good. And I mean, it's, we got a lot of new stuff on this bike. So was it something that was going on there? We don't think so, but we'll just figure it out.
Well, I want to flash back to that run right now where you lived up to your nickname, the Spiderman, for your signature riding ability. Stevie, your brother's one bad dude out there, huh?
Whoa! That was a little hairy, but he didn't back out too much. He did feather it.
Well, I think your brother Steve McBride said it best. I'll slightly edit it for the PG audience. He's one driving son of a gun. Larry, this motorcycle's 1,200 pounds. How does it handle that well. You really seem to get it where you need it to go, even on a bad run.
Well, the whole key to it is, and I tell everybody, and it's what the problem I run into, because I hadn't ridden all year when we went down there. We started testing on Wednesday, and every run I made on Wednesday, and the first couple of runs on Thursday, the bike was really ahead of me. And that's one thing that you don't want the bike to be ahead of you. You actually got to be ahead of the bike. Let the bike get ahead of you at 1,200 pounds, you can't bring it back. And it's and that's why I felt like on that 584 pass, I think it was 250 or 249. I felt pretty confident about bringing it back because, once I pedaled it, it came right back. So we was very happy for with that. It's just it's so hard to explain it. What goes on with these bikes. Anything can happen. Thank God he's kept me safe for a lot of years, and I still feel good and I still want to do it, but I just want to do it safely.
And like I said, your safety record has been impeccable so far. Your signature riding style, the Spiderman, you're hanging off the side of this bike. What's going on when you're doing that? Are you weighting the pegs? Are you looking for a certain reaction?
If the bike is going, let's say the bike is going to the right. Okay, I'm leaning to the left, so I'm standing on that right foot peg, and then I'm leaning to the left. So I'm pushing a lot of weight, so I can really, because you got how, and you need some strength, and I ain't gonna say I'm that strong, but in the leg strength, pushing on the pegs, and on the right peg and leaning left, it'll usually come back. There's times when it won't come back, like that second qualifier, I couldn't bring it back. So the only thing you can do there is just shut it off, and that's what we did.
I've heard you say before too, you've got another gift from God for this sport, and height's not a bad thing in Top Fuel Motorcycle. What's your height? You're 6'3".
I'm 6'3".
6'3". You think that's a big advantage in this sport?
Well, I do. I think so. When you're a little taller, you can get things out over center to bring it back. Though where you don't want to be is at top end. At top end, you don't want to be out there. You want to be behind the fairing. So you pretty well got to have everything done and straightened up by the eighth of a mile. And I ain't gonna say you can't lean at top end much, but there's a big wall of air that you're not gonna hold in the air, and that wall out there, you don't want to break that wall, because that wall will jerk you off the motorcycle. So back in Gainesville, Florida, at top end, I got in trouble one time. There was a bump in the left lane, hit that bump, and this was on blue. Hit that bump, when it did, kind of set me up within the wind, caught me. When it jerked my hands right off the handlebars and bent me all the way backwards, I actually grabbed the frame rail.
Oh my God.
So I learned a lot from that. And you just stay down and don't get too relaxed too soon. It's okay to be loose, but just don't get too. I know I've used the relax word in a couple of interviews, and probably should use that, more be a little loose, kind of let the bike, settle down and, do what it's going to do, and then just kind of, ride with it.
That's great advice. Look, I only go 140, 145 on my Busa when I cross, but I think of you right away. I just let that motorcycle do what it wants to do for a second, and not try to slam on the brakes or take it somewhere it doesn't want to be.
Right, because you got a bunch of gyros, so the bike will pretty well stand up on its own. And if you've seen some riders get pitched off, the bike keeps going straight. So,
and one thing we see in drag racing often is what guys bracket racing, get on the brakes too hard, trying to keep from breaking out.
Right, same thing we see in cars that wreck too. Same thing. So they grab on the brakes a little too hard, but thank God our sport in the bracket guys, they've done a great job, especially the last few years of not that I've seen anyway, and I try to watch them guys because I respect what they do, because they're very talented. You got the Dan Rudds that's very talented. You got Dustin Lever, and there's so many out there that's so very talented ET racers, and they make good money at it. It ain't like we've had some ET races this year, $50,000.
$50,000.
It's crazy. It's
10
awesome.
times the payout.
Yeah.
Of a standard Top Fuel race.
Yeah, exactly. And they've had $10,000 payouts. They just had another $10,000 payout at the Man Cup. So them guys are talented and they're serious.
Well, Larry, this is awesome. If you could, please, because I know so many people have wanted us to do this, could you please just give us a little tour of the motorcycle? We talked about the front end. We talked about the brakes. We're up here looking at the computer. Just give me an idea of what we're looking at, and let's just walk back and give people a technical tour of this motorcycle.
This is just the dash that gives us all of our telemetry, you know, and that gives us all of our fuel pressures. And this is what I'm looking at when we crank the bike up. And I can adjust, as they're pushing me to the water box, I can adjust my fuel pressures.
Where are you adjusting the fuel pressure?
Well, this over here is all apart.
Sure.
But, it's actually on the side of the blower. But down in this area, we have to turn the, got a couple of knobs where we can adjust the idle and adjust the idle fuel pressure. Because we want to leave at a certain fuel pressure. So we really keep a close eye on to make that.
Excellent. So taking a look at some of the switches here. What are we looking at?
Well, this is the shift button. This is my push to talk button. In other words, I run radio, so I can push this and talk to the guys.
That's something you didn't always have. Is that now a very integral part of your program?
Oh,
being
absolutely. I've been using them. I hadn't always used them, but I've probably been using radios now for probably since '08 in that deal, and we really love them. It's a great communication deal.
What are some of the things you guys talk about on there? Is it where you're
I don't do much talking. I do a lot of listening. Chuck mainly does all the talking to me, and it's mainly for getting me straight. To go down the track, lining me up. Left. Go left or right, or talk to me at top end. Let me know what I run, things like that. But you got a track so long at South Georgia that it's hard to get reception that far away because of the way we have to run our antennas. We kind of got it turned upside down so it don't pick up very well. So sometimes we got good reception, sometimes we don't, and it's just the way it goes. And then, of course, this is our computer here. The computer just sits right there.
What type of computer?
This is all race pack.
What's the cost on one of these?
Time you're said and done with everything you got, my particular stuff's probably about $14,000.
Wow, that should give people an idea how much it costs to go Top Fuel Racing. Just right here, that's more money than my Suzuki Hayabusa costs right there.
Right. Well, we run a lot of we run a lot of sensors. We monitor a lot of stuff that probably some people don't. I've got infrared tire temperature sensors, track temperature sensors, wheelie bar sensors. I run, I run a G meter in there, and I got a G meter in the back, so we can compare the two G meters to make sure everything's, everything's on the right, that you can compare. That you don't want to. It's just kind of like taking one motor. You need two. You know what I mean? So it's you just need the stuff to back up the other stuff. That's the main thing.
So we got a talk button here, this gold button. Tell people what the gold button does.
This is a shift button. This is a shift button.
So many may assume you have an automatic transmission. You do not.
I do not, but we do shift it on time. So
okay.
It's just one of them things that we do that everybody does pretty much that I know of.
So explain to people how you know when to hit that button.
I don't.
That's only in case you would need to?
Only in case. If you smoke the tire down low and you try to get it recovered, you can go ahead and plug it into high gear and try to get it to recover.
So the bike's going to shift itself, but if it doesn't, you have the option.
We have you don't the thing about it is it's not something you use a lot. I mean, normally when you smoke the tire, you just shut the throttle off. We don't try to. These things are so finicky anymore. And 2015 taught me a big lesson. So I don't like to, when they smoke the tire, I really don't like to get back in them anymore. I just kind of shut off, as you noticed down there a couple of times when we smoked the tire. And I just kind of idle back down the track. I don't like to get back into it. It destroyed my motorcycle.
That was a tough day. We were glad you came back in one piece. That was a scary day.
That. And this here is a fuel shut-off. It's just a shut-off that we make here at the shop.
So do you hit that at the top end of the racetrack?
No, we do not. We do not. No, because it'll. We don't hit that until it's way too far away from the handlebar, so we don't worry about it. This is my parachute button here, and I do hit that. Even though we got some stuff we're changing over to, we have it. We just hadn't done it yet. We're going to put where it'll be opened up automatically, the parachute, and we can set it at, you know, at the traps, 100-foot past the traps or 200-foot, and it's just a telemetry thing that we put up there, and it picks up and it sets the parachute off. And it'll shut the parachute off, shut the fuel off, and different things like that.
I like the color coding too. I'm sure that helps. We got the black button and the gold button.
Yeah, this is just an on and off switch, just a kill switch that we just use mainly in the pits. We don't never really use it out on the racetrack. You just got to have it on. And this is just an emergency fuel shut off, that if something was to go wrong with this one, you can just push this one.
At 265 miles an hour, can you see this stuff, or is it just strictly feel?
It's all feel. Yeah, you better not take your eyes off that track, because all it takes is just for one, you know, for instance, in my whole career, I've only been in the gravel one time, knock on wood.
Knock on wood.
It was my own fault. It's when I first went to the parachute, and I actually took my eyes off of what was going. You're flying down through there, and I took my eyes just for a split second to hit the button. Well, when I did that, that split second, I was at Norwalk on a little short track. I couldn't stop it.
Oh, I remember that day. I was there.
I went in the gravel, and it was definitely no fun. So I don't do that no more. You know, I made the statement to Sam Wills when I said, you didn't have in your directions in that parachute. You said, oh, I put the parachute on, you know, stop you. You didn't tell me I had to use my brakes. So I just made a joke out of it. And, I don't want to never go in the gravel again.
Amen to that.
Well, you got Chris Hand that sends you stuff like you're on the beach and stuff. You know, guys over there, they had fun with that for about a year. He started asking if I was at the beach with Angie Smith, because, you know, Angie went in Norwalk, went in the gravel too, and that's been several years ago, and it was funny because Chris sent me, had up business cards made up for me for the, you know, come to the beach deal. It was pretty cool.
Definitely not where you want to be, but you got great guys and a great camaraderie there. Continuing our tour, Larry, we're looking at a fuel tank here up front, fuel cell.
Yeah, this is the fuel cell here. Yes, sir.
Did I hear you say you're burning about 12 gallons?
No, actually, we burn 4.5 gallons on a run.
4.5 on a run.
But we're GPM, the gallons per minute that we're putting in the motors, at about 12.7.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. And
12 gallons per minute.
Plus, almost 13.
My God, you get in a Honda, we could drive from Newport News to Ohio probably on that amount of fuel.
Oh, absolutely.
And you're doing about a quarter mile. Wow.
Yeah, it's quite interesting.
It sure is. And I noticed strategically placed, of course, you want the mass up front and low, I take it?
Well, yes. Yeah, that's always been our theory. You got some guys that run the tanks in the back, but most all of our top fuel guys, you know, the inline fours run them up front. And now you see more and more of the Harleys running them up front. And it's a great weight balance, and we build our tanks a little bigger than what you need because we can use the fuel. The fuel weighs about 10 pounds per gallon, so we can actually use the fuel, how much we put in the tank, for weight balance.
We're missing a motor, of course, but we have all types of different lines and fittings. Larry, what are we looking at here?
Well, this is all the stuff that we use to return our fuels back into everything.
Well, let's not forget, guys, this is a speed shop, so there's certain things I don't want to get too close to. I don't want Larry to kick me out of here. There's secrets and there's reasons why he's the 20-time champion. Well, Larry, I've been in the pro stock motorcycle pits, okay? I know about secrecy. I know about speed. We're just going to show it from there. We're talking about all the hoses and fittings. There's proprietary stuff in there. Is this your own patented design?
Absolutely. It's not no... I shouldn't say it's a big secret or anything like that, because I don't really have secrets. There's things we just don't tell.
Sure.
So,
well, it took you 43 years to learn how to do
all
this.
my customers, I'm very upfront with. I don't, any guys that I have that I do engines for or build their bikes or help them build their bikes, we're 100% upfront with them. Because they spend money with me, so it really don't matter. And they're all good with everything that we do. And I had Greg Pollard in here the other day, and he was taking some pictures and different things, which we didn't mind.
Dave Vantine, a great customer of yours.
Oh, absolutely. Not only a great customer, but a great friend, been a friend. You know, used to be on my crew, so he's also a great friend. So, very dear friend. Him and Greg Pollard and Nitro Joe and all the Vantine group of people, all the girls, or Mary and just Jeannie, all of them I love to death.
They've got one heck of a team. Now, we know it's racing, we know it's competitive. Do you ever run into a situation throughout the years? We see newcomers in the class, we see guys come and go. You're such a nice guy. You're such a such a gentleman who's so magnanimous and giving. Do guys come to you and maybe think that they can get these secrets just for being buddies, just for cracking a beer?
Well, we do help a lot of people, and we try to help them. But if things go too far, I don't mind saying, hey, I can't do that, because the problem is when you've got customers and your customers are buying stuff, it's really hard to give it away when you're selling it. In other words, you got to treat everybody fairly, and I'm in business, so I have to make a living, to pay my home bills, pay the shop bills. Because I try to race for a living, but that don't pay. That's not the whole living. You got to. I need more income than that to pay the shop bills, the house bills, the kids' bills, the grandbaby's bills, feed the dogs. All that kind of stuff you got to have. Pay your taxes. I love it. It's a big deal. So you just got to treat everybody fairly, and everybody understands. Everybody. I've never really had an issue.
Absolutely. And my argument there would be, if anybody understood how much time, how much of your life, and how much money it costs to learn a lot of these things, they'd be totally floored and blown away.
Just on my fuel system, there's probably, I don't know, probably 100 hours, 150 hours just in flowing and testing and checking this, changing this. It's just crazy how much time you spend on it to get something to work. It's a lot of work. It's crazy, but it's what we love to do. A lot of people love to go fishing down the boat. I don't. I like what they catch and bring back in, and I get some of it, so that's all good. It works, it works both ways. So
well, I don't want you throwing me out of here, so I'm not going to get too close to this fuel system, but we are going to continue this very informative tour of the motorcycle. One thing I got to ask you here, we talked about the computer. Down here I see an EM command module.
Right, that's our EM box, which controls the fuel system. We tell it, there's numbers in there, in different maps that we got, no different than what the Pro Street and all the guys with the Fuel Tech stuff, which Fuel Tech stuff is great stuff. Hopefully one day we'll get to run, go to that. But as of right now, we're not. But the EM stuff is electromotion, and it controls everything, all my ignition timing, all my fuel stuff, all my clutch stuff. That one little box, you put it on an SD card, you draw your map in there on the computer, put it in there, put the SD card in it, and push send, and it's a done deal.
And I see you guys looking at data all the time. Larry, we got a big MSD mag back here. What's this?
Yeah, well, that's our ignition, the Magneto, which it's a 44 amp Magneto, super strong, and it's got a lot of duration as far as firing. With nitromethane, you need duration of spark, and that's one of the reasons we've not tried a Fuel Tech. They are working on that unbelievably hard right now. We've had a couple of Skype calls with, or Zoom calls, I should say, with Fuel Tech, and they're great people, and they've got a great product, and we're looking maybe down the road to try that. No, not right now. But we might incorporate a few of their stuff in here eventually one day, Right now, we're basically keeping it more like a Top Fuel car.
I've heard Chris Hand say that these are really two-wheeled funny cars. You agree with that?
Well, I'd say two-wheel Top Fuel cars.
Two-wheel Top Fuel dragsters.
Yeah, I'm just joking on Chris. So it's definitely they're all related. The funny car, the fuel car, they're related. Other than a fuel car has a ton more downforce and than a funny car. Funny car don't have a ton of downforce. So
continuing this amazing tour, Larry, we got some knobs back here. We got some wires back here, some tanks. What are we looking at?
Well, that's all of our clutch control system that you're looking at right now with all the little veneer knobs on them.
And that's another proprietary custom setup, right?
Well, it's the same thing Top Fuel car guys use.
Okay, so not that much different. I've heard you
same
refer to a
exact thing.
McBride clutch. You do have your own.
We make our own clutch, right? We don't make the controller.
Okay.
We do sell the controller. Johnny West, Top Fuel car crew chief, funny car crew chief, been around in the business a long time. We actually buy all of our clutch control stuff from him, which he does a fantastic job. So there's really no sense in us trying to make it when you can buy it and it works good.
What's this big tank that we're looking at here?
That's an oil tank.
Wow.
6 quarts of oil, and we change it every run.
So in terms of a standard motorcycle, that's a very odd place for an oil tank. How exactly does that work?
Well, it's, the best way to make an oil tank is round. Same way would be if you could, the best way to make a fuel tank would be round, but unfortunately you can't do it. And it just, it's just got a main fuel line, main oil line that runs to the pump, and then out of the pump to the motor, and then back to the oil pan, and then it sucks it down the oil pan and puts it back in the tank.
Would there be no way to just have a standard motorcycle setup and have the oil in the bottom end of the motorcycle?
Some people do run a wet sump deal, but we don't.
Some people in Top Fuel Motorcycle?
Yeah, I don't know if anybody right now. I can't think of anybody that's really running a wet sump. I don't think anybody's running a wet sump. Elmer used to run a wet sump.
Oh wow.
So we've always went to a dry sump. And the whole key to that was you make the oil pan real, only 2 inches wide. So that means you can drop the motor down further in the chassis, get the center of gravity of the bike lower.
What type of oil do you run in this motorcycle?
Redline. I didn't know they make more oils.
What weight specifically?
60 weight.
60 weight. Have you experimented with different viscosities and different weights?
No, we have not. Tim Kerrigan, which used to be the owner of Redline Oil, put us on this, and we've pretty well been with this since, the 90s. So we've had fantastic luck with Redline Oil, absolutely fantastic. So they've been a major support of mine for really over 20 years now. So we continue to run it, and we sell it here at the shop, and there's really no reason to change.
Truly amazing, Larry. As we work our way back, we notice this very durable chassis. This is fresh tubing. Your good friend Benji put this together for you. What type of material and how thick is the tubing?
Well, this is all chrome moly, and it's all 065 tubing. There's a little bit of 095 in certain areas, but for the biggest point, it's all 065, and it's 1.25 inch tubing, which is very, very strong. And it's all about how everything's built, how everything's triangulated, and it just makes it super strong.
Correct me if I'm wrong, this is actually thicker than what you ran on blue for all those years?
No, actually blue is it's actually 065,
Same
but
size,
it's
okay.
1.1 inch tubing, not 1.25 inch tubing.
Okay,
So
excellent. What are we looking at right here, Larry?
that's called an accumulator.
What's that do?
That's when you release the clutch, and we have a clutch cannon, and it has fluid in it. So once you release it, it pushes the fluid back to here, pushes the fluid back to the accumulator.
And then finally, we get to the rear of the motorcycle. Here is the big, giant Mickey Thompson slick. What size slick is this?
That's a 14.
Wow. Have you experimented with different tire size throughout your career?
Not a whole lot. We used to run a 13-inch tire back in the days, but no, that's kind of a given. I've been with Mickey Thompson for a lot of years. We helped them develop this tire, and it's a great tire. So there's really been no there again. Mickey's such a big supporter of racing. We want to continue to support them like they support us.
How many runs do you get out of a slick?
It can vary. It can vary. You can go all weekend on the same tire, or you might have to put a couple of tires on. It all depends. We always run the same compound. We don't change in compound. We vary the air pressure. And that's from run to run, from how hot the track is to how cold the track is what you do with air pressure.
Big, massive sprocket. Is this something you make or is this something you buy?
That is actually made by PBI, which has been there again. They've been with me for 20 years.
Wow.
They make all my sprockets, and they do a wonderful job. They're all 70, 75, and really can't ask for them to be any better than what they do. They're just make a great product, and they sell a lot of street bike sprockets and all kind of stuff.
PBI, pretty amazing setup here too. I imagine this is all for adjusting the chain, or am I wrong?
Right. Yep, that's all for adjusting the chain.
What a setup! Is that your own patented custom design?
I guess say it would be Steve's, not patented, but it's Steve's idea.
And speaking of Steve, we're going to see the shop here in just a little bit, but if you hear some clutch noise back there, hardest working man in drag racing, right? We couldn't, some people might be like, why is there noise in the video? We can't let Steve stop for 60 minutes. He needs to keep going.
Yep, exactly.
That's impressive. Well, Larry, let's take a look at the body, okay? This, of course, still has your great sponsor, TrimTex 7.0 Joe, a beautifully wrapped body. It's amazing. What type of material is this body?
It's all carbon fiber, and this is made by Ben Beasley at Beasley Fiberglass. Actually made the body for us. We made the template, which was out of aluminum, and then of course he built the body. A guy named Randy Randazzo is actually the guy that beat all of the aluminum out, and he used to work for Puppet, so he was very talented. And then we had Ben make it out of carbon fiber, and we actually got we got a new body. This one's called, it's been through a lot.
It's been through some damage, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Truly amazing, though. It looks beautiful. That is the brother, Steve McBride, hardest working man in drag racing. Crew Chief of the Year many times, well deserved. Guys, I hope you are enjoying this tour. What a great opportunity. We're not done yet. We're going to see a little bit around the shop. We're also going to have Larry talk to us a little bit about those engines that go 265 miles an hour. If you have any questions, leave them down below. Make sure you share this with a motorcycle fan as well. And as promised, it's time to get a look at the power plant. Larry, here we go. 4 cylinders, loosely based off a Suzuki GS. Tell me all about your motor.
Well, it's basically based off of the GS 1100, 1150, off the crankshaft centers. We've done a lot of stuff to them. It's all billet cases, Vance and Hines heads. I run, some of my blocks are Mitch Brown, Monster Racing products that Mitch does for me. He does a great job. Very happy with his work. It's been a lot of work, and I've got one over here that we just tore apart. I can give you a little rundown of what we have here. And I run Bill Miller rods. These rods are still a little oily. They just come apart. This is the rods. This is the motor that we actually went to. The 567 at 265.95, as Bill Miller says, it's that's 266 mile an hour, and they're BME rods. They're Bill Miller engineering rods, so they work really well. We've had great luck, and Bill's not only makes a great product, he's a very dear friend of mine, and we love him to death. Him and his wife, they treat me like family, so we're real happy with that. And this here's a Marine crankshaft. Dave out in California, he makes all of these crankshafts for me, which is, he does great work. It's unbelievable. A lot of your Busa people run Marine crankshafts, the stroker cranks and things like that. And so we went to him to do our cranks, and we actually have these cranks are actually made out of the same material as a Top Fuel car crank, because we need the strength. Because we still run a center idler here, or center crankshaft pulley, which has to be, this is our weak point of the crankshaft, so the thing really has to be strong. There's other things you could do if you wanted to redesign the whole engine. You could go to a bigger sprocket. There's all kinds of things. Puma makes some stuff where you can use you know, you run an idler, and and they're nice work because there again, Ian King does great work too. I don't have a problem with him. We run a lot of his cases, a lot of Puma stuff, and matter of fact, Puma just came out with a new set of billet cases that I can take you over here. And show it to you.
Very cool. Ian will love this for sure. And
Yeah, Ian does a lot of stuff for me. You know, Ian King does all of my supercharger rebuilds. I buy all my superchargers from Ian and actually send them back to him, you know, for a rebuild because I trust what he does. He always gives me top quality work. I can't really ask for any better. Treats me right. He's used to be a major competitor. You know, he has since retired or semi-retired. I think he'll come back and race every now and then. But Ian does. He's great for Top Fuel Motorcycles, and he does a great job. And he kind of builds these things for us. I kind of pushed him a little bit. I shouldn't say pushed him, but I kind of told him what we wanted to do with the billet cases. And these are the new. This is the first one off of Puma's assembly line that he makes, and he makes these things to order per order. So and it's Puma, as you can see right there. Beautiful. And this is the first of the billet that he's made, and he's done a fantastic job of it. So
what's the weight like on one of those? Do you know?
You know, I don't know. We can weigh one and find out. It's pretty simple to do.
How many cc's?
If you can hold on just a second,
Yeah.
we'll.
Absolutely. Well, you got a phone ringing.
Yeah,
Hold on.
phone is ringing.
That's right. He's the secretary as well. It's a tight operation here. It's only Larry and Steve, so phone rings an awful lot.
I don't have a problem. I just don't have time for it. They are 37 pounds, 12 ounces.
Wow, that is seriously light.
And for billet, and like I say, Ian does a great job. He kind of built on this type cylinder studs that we run,
Right.
You know, but he can make them. These are 1/2 inch, 13 threads in the cases, or he can make them, you know, 12 millimeter by 1.5, and so he does a lot of special stuff for me, and he never had a problem with it. So we actually loved, you know, what Ian King does for Top Fuel Motorcycles.
Now, speaking of Ian, I know that you two have had just a little bit of a disagreement in terms of philosophy, where Ian and a lot of the Europeans, they like showing you can do it with one motor. If something happens to the motor, they repair it at the track. In fact, on Ricard Gustafson's bike, I saw that thing stripped down to bare cases last year at the Euro Finals. Taking a look, we can see that the Spiderman may believe in more than one motor. Obviously, Ian wants to show that you can do it with
you
one.
absolutely can do it. You can do it. I don't like working on my engines at the track. I'd just rather put another one in, you know. You know, so, you know, this is a Puma. This is a Puma bottom end also that Ian's done for me. And this is another Puma that Ian's done for me. That's another Puma over there that Ian's done for me. So I do, and I run a lot of Ian's parts, you know, as far as the cases is concerned. And his superchargers, all of his, we'll walk over here and show you the injectors. Ian manufactures a carbon fiber injector, which we also run.
Oh, wow.
This is one all complete, ready to put on the motorcycle. It's 100% ready to go, all set. All it needs to be done is bolted on, and it's good. And Ian does a great job of these two. So you can see the workmanship of the carbon fibers, you know, fantastic. So we can't, I can't really say anything that I would do any different. And Ian supplies us with this stuff at a reasonable market value price. And this is what we sell to all of our customers at the same time.
It's beautiful. How many cc's are we dealing with on these motors?
1,511.
Wow. Okay, so compared to the pro mod bikes, that's actually a little bit down on cc's. Those guys have big 1,800 cc
Right,
motors.
and some people run bigger motors than what I run. I don't run a super big engine. I run a 70 millimeter stroke crank, 83 millimeter bore, and we make more than enough power.
How much horsepower when it's all said and done? I know that number
Well,
continually goes up.
It goes up. If you go by off our computer program, at some points in the track, depending on how much ignition timing you have in the bike and how much nitro you have, you're looking at, we see as much as 1,670 horsepower.
Good Lord.
But on the average, you're probably looking, at 1,500 horsepower. Some parts of the thing, like when we're leaving the starting line, you're taking a lot out, and you're probably only leaving like 1,200 horsepower, then you're adding it to it, and you steady step the horsepower up.
That's more than a monster truck, Larry.
Well,
That's crazy.
Yeah, monster truck jumps cars, though.
Well, man, this is so awesome. What's the ballpark cost on one of these?
Well, you're looking at, by the time you're said and done, you're going to spend $35,000.
$35,000. Okay, so that's probably where Ian's coming from, that he's said he wants more people in the sport. He just wants to let people know it is possible to do it with one motor if you had to.
Well, it is, unless you're trying to run on the level that we're trying to run on. And, and Ian and them, they do good. They do, I can't say that they don't. Marius does a absolutely phenomenal tuning job. All them guys. I got so many friends over in England that I can consider, some of my best friends. Frank Blackvogel is one of my best buddies ever. He helped me back in when I put my Sprintec supercharger on. Oh God, back in, I guess somewhere in probably 89, something like that.
Wow.
Frank had one on, but they had been running them over in England, and Frank actually helped me out. Actually came over to the races and helped me. I mean, we became really good buddies, and to this day, we're still just as good as friends as we were way back then. So, and all the guys over in Europe make fantastic products.
I know someday they'd like to get you over there. I know you'd love to race over there. It's a long way from Virginia, though, isn't it?
It's a long way from Virginia, and but them guys come over here and race with us. I'd love to go over there and race, and maybe one day it can happen.
That's awesome, Larry.
So,
well, I want to wrap this thing up because I know that at some point you got to get back to work here. Thank you for letting us interrupt the day here at Cycle Specialist. Before we go, could you just give us a brief little look around the shop?
Well, actually, yeah, we can. We can come over and show you. This is a project we're finishing up. These are all clutch discs right here they're all brand new stuff, but we have to grind them all to our specifications. So we're getting all this stuff ready, trying to get ready for next year, and this is just some of the stuff we do. Matter of fact, that's what Steve's been doing most of the day, is grinding clutches outside right now. And then you come over here. This is.
Hold on. We don't want to show. This one they're gonna have to come back because guess what? We're about 4 or 5 days away from the first fire up.
That's what we're shooting for.
I'm gonna give them here, guys. This is the new motorcycle, Jimmy the Hawk Brantley. I got to tell you, it's a work of art. This is all you're gonna see right now. You got to come back, Cycle Drag YouTube. We're gonna fire it up here in a few days, God willing.
And this
willing.
And this is just more of the products that we make. These are all transmission mounts. These are actually stuff that Steve has made, but what we had done with here, we actually had Jimmy. Jimmy's got a couple of CNC machines that he plays around with. So he actually CNC'd these for us so we can have some spare transmissions.
It's amazing what you guys do.
Yeah, and this is all of our transmission spacers. We make all that kind of crap. And
well, I know it's only you and Steve, but let me ask you this. I know you're heavy top fuel. Do you get a lot of sportsman racers and different classes that say, hey, can you work with us?
We don't do a lot of that because I'm going to tell you, the sportsman guys are a little different than what we do, and you kind of should stay. And I'm a type person, I like to stay with what we know. Now, do we help some of the guys? Yeah, I had Harvey Hubbard just dropped a cylinder head off for his 460 bike. So we do some stuff. We don't do a ton of stuff. That's all new triple trees, and these are all new idler pulleys that we have to have for our different blower ratios, and you go on with that. This is more engine plates and stuff that we're setting up. Because we're still doing. Van Tyne's bike and Athol Williams over in New Zealand. So we got a lot going on.
You sure do.
A lot of fixturing, and these are the clutches that Steve's been out grinding. This is actually the flywheel, and he's got all grinded. They're just about ready for assembly. Got to put all the studs in. You know, still a ton more work to go on them. So we got a lot of stuff going on there. So it's just trying to get everything done.
And look at this impressive collection of machines. We're talking about, what, 43 years it took you to get all these machines?
Well, yeah, they're all older machines. They're all hand machines, but it does what Steve and I, want it to do. And Richard Hartman out of Hartman Machine actually machines all of our clutches for us. Does a great job. Can't say enough about Richard Hartman. He's been in the racing business pretty much all his life, so he understands the lingo and understands what we want. And then if you come over to this part, over here, we keep a lot of pulleys, a lot of things like that in stock in this little room here. Our little parts room that we carry quite a few pulleys in stock, as you can see. So we try to keep that so we can service our customers and keep everything. Keep everything going.
The shop's immaculately clean, by the way. Like, I've never been in a shop cleaner than yours.
Well, we thrive on that. It's sometimes it gets kind of hard, to keep it as neat as I'd like to see it, but we still do a pretty good job of it. And then if you come on up here, we actually turned our showroom anymore. It's basically a storage room.
And this is a museum. I heard Tom McCarthy talking on the PA, we need a museum. This is a museum up here, I'll tell you.
These are all the wheels for
wow.
Athol Williams.
Okay.
This is all the oil tank, carbon fiber blower guard for Van new rear wheel for Dave. Athol Williams stuff, the new B&J transmission. We actually got one of these coming for Dave now. We just got tons of parts and wheels and pictures, and it just goes on and on. We got the chassis over here. That this, not that it matters, they're both the same, but Van-Tines, Athols. Of course, there's the Hulk's Bodywork and the Hulk's wheelie bars. Pretty much all ready to go. More new carbon fiber bodies over there. We're like, got way too many sets of wheelie bars. I've been through 4 sets of wheelie bars in the last year. So
I noticed that, and a big change in design as well. Are you happy with the new design that you guys made?
We're very happy with it. I think we still got a little bit of work to do to them.
What's the premise there with it?
Stiffness. We want stiffness, not flex. We're doing stuff a little bit out of the box compared to what some people do. So we just wanted to try this. And so far, it seems like it's going to work. It's just taking a little bit of work. Just part of it. Of course, right over here in all these boxes, these are all Bill Miller pistons for Top Fuel. So
Thank you,
we
Bill
keep
Miller.
plenty of pistons in stock. I got more in another room.
You keep plenty of plaques in stock as well.
We got that's a lot of, that goes back to the Pro Star days here, man.
Wow.
I got them all the way back to, oh Lord, I don't even know, man. They're a little crooked on the wall where the cars run by and vibrate the building, so that happens. We've got, God, I'm telling you, it's just...
It is the beginning of a museum here. It really is.
I did some cool shots here. The boys from over in Europe, we're standing beside his bike. That was pretty cool to do.
So many memories. Well, it's been so enjoyable and wonderful being a part of this. We all share passion. I appreciate you, again, giving us this access, opening everybody up. We're going to let you get back to work here. Last question for you.
Yes, sir.
Last question. I don't ever want to see you quit doing this. Nobody wants to see you quit doing this, but we do know Father Time is a real thing. You are now 62?
Yep, I'll be 63 in January.
63 in January. Have you thought at all about how long you plan to do this? Have you thought at all, is there a period of time where maybe you say, I am too old to go this fast?
I try not to think about it, but it's the thing where you have to think about it. And, I know the time's coming. I don't know exactly when that's going to be. But, I'm not going to go too much longer. I don't want to leave the sport that I love so dearly, and I won't leave. I'll still be involved, whether I'm riding a bike or or keeping somebody on it, you know, and if we ever do decide to put somebody else on it, you know, me and my first would be Chuck Stewart, one of my crew guys that's been so very passionate about this sport. He's been with me since he was 12 years old. He's probably made 10 million passes, you know, so we definitely like to give him a shot. We've been saying that for the last 5 or 6 years, and you know, we definitely need to give him a shot at it, to try it, so he'll know what it feels like. And I really think he's a big enough boy that, and tall and big and strong, I don't think he'd really have a problem with it. You know, matter of fact, we sent him to Johnny Vickers' school, and he rode a Pro Fuel Harley that just, you know, like it was really like he was made for it. So, you know, whatever we decide to do is what we'll do. We just got to make sure we get we have to get, you know, of course, the partners and sponsors and different people to make sure that we can afford to do it. And the part that would have to really work out with me would be probably the worst part now at 60 plus is the loading and unloading. You know, making sure the tractor trailer's ready to go, making sure every part's in the trailer, making sure the tires got air in it, making sure the brakes are good, fixing wheel bearings. I mean, it's just a never stop, making sure the generator works right. And you know, it's a lot of work, which we don't mind. We love it, but it's just the part that is not the most enjoyable part of it.
I understand that.
You know, you come back from a race and have a crew like we have. It's not only is a lot of clothes to wash, you know, to get done, you know, between the towels and the uniforms and all the stuff that you have to do to keep everybody, you know, looking good, and you know, it's just all the work prior. The racetrack is, to me and Steve, is actually relaxing because we have a lot of help at the racetrack. You know, we have Roland and Chuck and Charlie and John and myself and Steve, so it makes it a whole lot easier. And here at the shop, you know, it's just me and Steve. You know, I've used to have a lot of friends that come by and help me, but you know, over the years, when you've been doing it as long as I've been doing it, what happens is you actually burn people out. And for some reason in this area, or some reason in this day and time, we don't quite understand. When I was coming up as a kid and I had a race shop there, boy, I'd be there sweeping the floors, emptying trash cans, whatever I could do just to be around to get the knowledge. And unfortunately, it's not like that today. You know, for God's sake, I've hired a couple of young guys, and unfortunately it didn't work out. You know, still friends with them and all that, but they didn't want to empty trash cans. They don't want to clean bathrooms, and I can understand that to a point. But if you're using the bathroom, you should be able to clean the bathroom. If you're throwing stuff in the trash can, you should be able to empty the trash can. It's nothing that I would ever ask anybody to do if I wouldn't do it, and I do it all. So it's not really a thing. It's just a different era that's coming up. You need you need laptops and tablets everywhere for these guys, because that's what they do the best. And you know, maybe one day we get one as an IT guy or something. You know, who knows? But you know, it's just a different deal. You know, because when I was coming up as a kid, I hung out at the Ford store, and they did round cars, and all I got to do was clean the floor. I mean, that's the only thing they let me do. You know, I was young. I think I was in the 6th grade, or excuse me, in the I was doing a lot more in the 6th grade, but I think I was in the 1st or 2nd grade in Oklahoma, and I used to go there because I love race cars so much. And so I just hung out at the Ford store. Sometimes depending on what they're doing, I couldn't even come in. I had to stand at the door. They wouldn't even let me come in, but I'd stand there and watch.
Well, you developed one heck of a work ethic, and that's why you're going to leave an indelible legacy on this sport. I hope you're like the Greek of Top Fuel Motorcycle. We see you doing this for about another 20 years. Yeah, that's awesome.
It would be awesome to be able to do it. I don't know if we'll be able to go that far, but we're going to go and keep going as long as we can. You know, I'm just hoping everything, you know, gets better. This pandemic has really, you know, kind of put a hurt on all of our racing. And, you know, if we're not racing and people in Europe not racing, that means we're not selling parts.
Yes, it's been a tough year for everybody.
Yeah, and I just kind of revamped my business a few years ago and just got more into the racing end and not doing as many street bikes and things like that, which, that comes back to the internet basically drove me away, from the retail side of everything, because you can't compete with the internet. You just can't do it. So we just do the best we can, and we got a good following, so we're going to be here. We ain't going nowhere.
I like it, Larry. Well, everybody better get out and see you live. We got big things coming. We got Norwalk talking to us. We got NHRA talking to us. Of course, the Man Cup Finals. Who knows what else? Spiderman. Look at this. You got a customer at the door already. We're going to have to let him know the front door's...
They can't read. They don't want to open up.
Front door's been closed a long time. Larry, thank you so much, man. We really appreciate it, and we look forward to many more years.
Yes, sir.
Cycle Drag Universe, let me know where you were watching this from. Is it your phone? Is it your device? Are you watching on the go? Are you watching at your shop? Either way, I really hope you enjoyed it. And I want to thank Larry Spiderman McBride. Guys, if you don't know this man, not only is he a legend in motorcycling, he is just a genuinely nice, hospitable man. I've been watching him since I was about 6 years old. I started announcing races when I was 18, and I found out right away, this is just common sense. There are some racers that are going to be awfully nice to you because you're the announcer and they want you to say wonderful things about you. Well, a couple years later, I wasn't the announcer, and I went up to Larry, and he was every bit as nice, every bit as welcoming. He's a cool dude. And what he said there about, we know the days are numbered. Unfortunately, we don't want to think about that. That's all the more reason. Follow this page and get out to a race live. We'll keep you posted, okay? Come see him when we come to your area. I promise you. Bring a friend. I promise you, no one will ever be bored at Top Fuel Motorcycle. These things are amazing. I've shown friends Top Fuel Motorcycle who really don't like drag racing, really don't like motorcycles, and they're still entertained. It's awesome. Guys, thanks so much. Much more coming. If you'd like another video like this, here's a couple for you to click on. If there's anything fast motorcycles, we are in. Cycle Drag rolls on. Jimmy Brantley Startup coming soon.